All right, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Town of Tazewell July 6th regularly scheduled IEDA meeting. I'm Kara Spivey. I'm the Town of Tazewell IEDA chairperson. The reason we're all here today is we're having a continued discussion about future plans for the Ramey lot property that the IEDA owns on behalf of the town. We have with us today Kevin Jones from Wind Architecture. He's going to review two updated schemas after we get started, but policy-wise, Town Council actually has to open up their meeting as well. So go ahead, Mayor Beasley.
So I'm going to call a special call joint meeting, special call joint meeting in Town Council 98 to order.
Me now, right?
Yeah. What's yours?
This is great. I didn't think all you guys would show up for a 4-hour lecture on the history of architecture.
I'm game.
But students don't want to eat it. So,
Let's do it.
awesome. We're going to go through slides on the screen, and I'll try to zoom in on some things. It's a huge lot, which only fits so much on a piece of paper, so I'll try to zoom without making everyone seasick. I do have 10 copies of this presentation if people want to spread them around a little bit and share. So thank you all for coming out and participating.
Kevin, real fast. If anyone from the public would like to make a comment, we do have a public sign-in sheet for later as well. According to me, yes.
A few of each of the, maybe one up here on. Since you guys are thinking of marriage history. All right, this afternoon.
And just so everyone is aware too, we will have additional copies available after the meeting. Kevin's going to send a PDF, and then Susan will help print copies so that extra physical copies will be available at Town Hall after today.
So by way of recap where we are and where we're maybe heading, so about a month or so ago, presented the first couple of ideas, and I was engaged by Kara and IEDA on the town's behalf, just to start to try to conceptualize what to do with 6-point-something acres of concrete and asphalt over there on East Castle. The initial prompt was multi-use fields, access for seniors to do walking and sort of basic physical fitness, maybe some multi-generational amenities, a playground or activities that would support passive as well as some active kinds of exercise, and also as an effort to kind of beautify and create kind of a welcome mat and a front door to the town when you're coming in that way, instead of being greeted by the empty lot. So the feedback last time centered on, it sounded like you folks, there was a lot of interest in as many sort of multi-functioning fields as possible, focusing on soccer, but basically a sort of public green that could be used in a lot of different ways, while still maintaining some of the smaller amenities for individual folks who might just want to go, or maybe you go for a soccer game, but you need to sort of participate, kids playing on the playground. We looked at two schemes, gathered some feedback. Town Council shared some feedback with me, coming back with sort of two additional options to go on from there. What you see on that first page 1, and what you see on the screen is just the existing site conditions, so it's always helpful to be able to reference. What emerged last time was really this sort of multifunctional fields. Questions of parking came up almost immediately, as it always frequently does in these kinds of things. And a target of 100 to 125 parking spaces was sort of a round number that was developed, while still maintaining kind of, not turning it into just sort of a big empty grass field, but still having kind of these pockets of activity. So last time we looked at scheme A and B, this time we're looking at C and D. What you'll see in the packets and what we'll go through now, for each of the two screens I've drawn out sort of soccer field and arrangements to show the different ways that the site can be used. So we'll jump ahead to. So just to orient you to what you're seeing, The river, sorry. It's always, let's do updates right in the middle of things. Probably do one more, of course. On the page to the, there it is. So the river and East Fincastle are to the north, the Hardys is sort of over here to the left, if you're looking for a little bit of wayfinding. Existing river road that kind of cuts through the middle, serves some residential properties, kind of tucked up into the little holler. And then the town of Tazewell, sort of shops, facilities, municipal functions, is sort of this collection of buildings here. Last time we talked about sort of keeping roads or moving roads. This scheme maintains more or less the existing kind of rights of way of the roads as they currently are, such as they are, with River Road kind of dividing the site into 2/3 and 1/3. This scheme is a variation on the one that was the most popular last time. You can see there's a sort of large single field. One of the challenges on the site is how to create a buffer between kind of busyness of East Fincastle and the park, both for safety reasons, but also just maybe so you don't feel like when you're at the park, you're sitting on a busy road. So this scheme clusters activities. So to the west, parking and a small playground. This one's sort of tucked up against the hill, against the English Drive. The large field along the edge, and we talked about this last time, it's a series of built up, we call them berms, but kind of built up hills that would help create a buffer zone up against East Fincastle, while also providing maybe just kind of sloped grass seating, so a place where you can kind of sit on just a slightly tilted bit of grass. I'll zoom in on this. At each of these little cut-throughs, there's little pockets where small pull-up bars or workout equipment or those kinds of senior use or anybody really, you could go and walk the loop and sort of exercise along the way. There's a services building, this little white square here. And then on the other side of River Road, sort of a second field that's smaller, parking. Last time we talked about pickleball courts, there was a consensus that 3 to 4 made the most sense. So 4 pickleball courts there. Starting to allow, especially down in this corner of the site, opportunities to try to collect and manage some of the consistent rainwater, stormwater buildup. And then this scheme actually sort of proposes starting to use a little bit of the existing sort of asphalt and area around the shops to create some of that additional parking that you all mentioned. And they could be used for municipal functions during the week and then overflow parking during the weekend. So let's zoom in just a little to give you maybe a little bit better view of what we're talking about. So basically there's kind of this loop road that hooks around like this, creates a big area, a small area. There's sort of an L-shaped bit of secondary amenities. So these little pockets and circles become those places where small pieces of equipment, picnic benches or things could reside. So smaller scale elements, you have the large field. And then kind of over here, this proposes 2 big grass hills with some seating built in. In my experience, kids love to run up and down the hill. It's also a nice place to sort of sit. It also, again, creates a little bit of visual separation from the road. There's this loop track here, so you can sort of go around, or you can come over and walk around that way. It's anywhere from a 0.3 to 0.35 miles in the loop. So you can sort of steadily walk. And along the way, you can stop at some of these workout amenities. We just drew a rectangle and called it services building, places for bathrooms. Down the road, we should talk about the kinds of structures that might support the activities that we're talking about. And then you can see how a little bit of the sort of Tazewell shop area has been massaged and co-opted a little to create some additional parking and things. We talked last time about maybe not introducing a full sort of baseball diamond. You have some of those already in town parks, but providing at least maybe a backstop where kind of pickup games or coaches can do practice for t-ball and things like that. So, what follows, the next few versions are just showing different soccer field layouts, so you can start to get a sense for what you're seeing. So these are 4 U9, U10 soccer fields, so middle-aged. It's middle-aged? I'm middle-aged. How am I back? For middle-aged youth. So enough room for a single, and I put the yard sizes on there. When you look into this, these field sizes can vary, kind of plus or minus. So I basically just try to take the middle range for small, medium, and large to test fit them out. So you can see how sort of 4 easily fit there, plus another up there. Similarly, if we go to the next page, you know, if you just wanted to have like the world's largest Pee-wee soccer tournament, right?
Pure insanity.
This is, you go out there with the little orange cones, basically, and the puck goals. But anyway, just to sort of give you a sense for things. Depending on how you were to sort of lay those out, for every one of those middle-sized fields, you could probably get 4. 3 is more comfortable, but you could probably get 4 Pee-wee. So when you start to see kind of one mid-sized field, you can think, I can get 3 or 4 of the field sizes for the little kids. If you wanted to sort of set up T-ball, it sort of lives like that.
What's the total, what's the size of, on slide, field 1, when it's just big, one big field, you don't have a bird? What's the area? What are you saying that is? 240 by 60? 60 by 240?
1, 2, 3, 4 would be 240, plus there's 10 yards in between each one, so 240, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Call it 300 yards, which is 900 feet.
300 by 60, something like that?
Something like that. It depends on kind of the road and the...
Right.
But generally, yeah. And I can't do, my primitive brain can't do the acreage math on the square footage of that. But, I'm happy to sort of, I can capture these numbers or send a dimension plan with a kind of some overall dimensions. But, and obviously you can take a grass field and turn it into, you could have small and medium. You could have 2 more small ones there instead of I just keep showing them the T-ball just for the sake of scale. There's enough room that you could kind of get one older kid, so U13 plus, at 60 by 110 yards, kind of in the middle, and still have U10 and U6s.
So that's basically what we do now at Lincoln Shire.
Yeah.
What you have on the screen right now, one big field with several smaller ones, is essentially what is our current rec soccer program.
Yeah, actually, it's minus one of the U6, U8 fields.
Yeah.
You pretty much got a U9, U10, the U13, and then one U6, U8. Well, I guess it's 2. Yeah, the other little one right there by the concession stand.
And I didn't draw them, obviously, like 2 of these would fit over there. So, I prefer this scheme and sort of, there's existing infrastructure, both above ground and below ground, that runs along this not quite a road that's currently there, and River Road, which is currently there, utility lines. Underneath River Road, I think there's at least sewer, water, sanitary sort of running, so there's some good reasons to keep sort of these existing cut-throughs where they are without sort of moving a lot of infrastructure. We'll look at that scheme next. And again, just sort of trying to sort of grab a little parking. I put some total numbers. All of these lots here, here, and here, 101 spots. And then depending on your relationship with VDOT and some of that extra parking along that big right-of-way, you can probably get another 40 cars parallel parked along the So you're up in the neighborhood of 140 spots.
Wow.
And that's not including people just kind of like parking where they find room.
And how many did you say are in Shire? About 80.
So
So just a reference for everybody in the room, there's about 80 marked spots at Lincoln Shire right now.
And that number is maybe, I haven't shown the handicap accessible spots where 2 spots become 1, so it's plus or minus. That's the order of magnitude that sort of fits.
I do like how you double the parking because we need more
So,
It's always an issue.
yeah. So that's the first scheme with sort of the flavors of different kinds of fields. And again, there's this kind of edge condition where you can sit with your back. We talked last time, and I called them out as a ball stop. I don't have a drawing that shows it, but there could be the metal poles with the netting installed to keep a kid who toes the ball and shanks it from sending the ball out onto the castle. Maybe they get bonus points if they get it in the river. They can clear the road, but, and again,
More likely a coach that's trying to show off.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Jim? I appreciate you calling.
just so you can see those a little bit. So there's these kind of built up areas with maybe riprap or when you dig up all the concrete and asphalt, there'll be plenty of material to kind of build these kind of protective structures, and then these sort of just little sloped, I call it seating, but it's just a hip, tilted grass. And then behind the ball stops, and then little places where pieces of equipment or desired amenities could sort of find them. So you could be doing the loop track and sort of pop off, do some pull-ups, pop off, do some leg raises.
And just to interrupt really fast, town council, I've talked before at the last meeting about taking the current bodyweight equipment that's at the back of the Lincolnshire Loop near the Frank Barnes Trail. We could retake that equipment and put it here where it's going to be more readily used.
Yeah, I think that would be good because it's more accessible to more folks. And if you had it in a flat area like this, it's even, more accessible.
So yeah, just when he's talking about equipment like that, we already have it, we can move it.
Right.
So that kind of smaller scale zone comes along East Fincastle and then turns south and creates another place where I imagine kids having fun on scooters, sort of bobbing and weaving around circles, and then just little pockets where plantings, furniture, picnic tables. I pitched the idea of a hammock garden last time, and I think one person was excited about sort of a collection of hammocks all in one place. But just the idea that within this park, that there's these large multifunctional spaces, but that there's still places where you might go comfortably read a book on a nice day in the shade. So just trying to sort of tuck these things in. Any questions about that one to get us rolling?
No, I think you showed good variation of the uses that we could have. I mean, seeing those different fields in there definitely gives it a little bit more perspective of how big that space actually is.
One of the feedbacks last time about the playground kind of being over here was you might have to cross a road. I think with traffic calming, I don't see it being a super busy road because it's just a loop for parking. But also, there's the existing hill that comes down from English, so I think the playground actually tucks in a way that's safer on most of the sides. And then they can use raised walls, and there's integrated seating and all those things. So it makes just a nice little pocket.
I do have a question about the seating. You were talking about they'll be sitting on like a hill or what did you call it?
Like a berm is a fancy word for a hill, but.
Okay, so, you have elderly folks and grandparents and that kind of thing that are going to come. They're probably going to need a chair or somewhere to sit because they're not going to be able to sit on that area and get up off of the hill.
From the edge of the field to the burns, is that about 10 yards or more?
Yeah, so I think.
Oh, okay.
So you could plant a chair on the walking path, don't tell anyone. You could plant a chair on the edges of the fields as well, on the flat part.
Okay.
And it's not,
And then you would have the other side as well, the south side, I guess.
Yeah.
so I think it's still mostly flat. It's just kind of trying to build up that edge a little bit for larger reasons. We have the drill field at Virginia Tech right at sort of the heart of campus is this big empty grass field. And when you want to go and do anything by yourself, read a book, listen to music, do whatever, have a short, small conversation, you go to the edges where it sort of slopes up because you can sort of comfortably sit there, as opposed to going and sitting in the middle of the field. So, and those could be adjusted.
Those circles,
Yeah.
you got them all over that thing. What are those depict?
Trees.
A variety of things.
Yeah. The ones with all the little stars in it.
Yeah, on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
Oh, that's just a tree. So this right here?
Yeah.
Tree.
that's a tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an abstract.
Different size. Yeah, I got you. Got it.
You're gonna need a big grant just to buy all the trees that have been drawn on this.
Yeah, you got those big, you got the big ones, right? Just go right down on the back of the cliffs there. There's sycamores.
Some of those are existing, so the lighter colored ones are existing.
These are existing.
Yep, and then the darker ones are proposed.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, there's a good naming opportunity if someone wants to give $200,000 for a specimen tree that's got a big. Plenty of opportunity.
Bidding starts now. No.
You carry your number. And then again, just sort of, pickleball. Most of the pickleball courts I haven't played that I looked at, there's sort of a high fence that contains most of it, and then short fences that sort of separate the four courts, and you can kind of, so occasionally you're hitting your ball over into your neighbors, but it's sort of one big fence around the outside, and you can have a cluster of them with just low sort of fencing that stops 80% of
I ain't seen Dave Fox play pickleball yet. It's pretty wild.
Again, that sort of extended loop of walking, you could walk down through this sort of plaza and then walk across here and pick up the main. So a couple different paths, ways to navigate through. If all you want to do is go and take a nice walk.
Yeah, that's the key. So Kevin, I want to compliment you because this is 100% all the feedback from our last meeting incorporated into Schema C.
And I love that you listened to what the group had to say,
That's
and
my
you just
job.
took it back.
Yeah, this is 100% what
Okay.
you came to us and we said, what about this? And here it is. So thank you very much.
Good. No, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take a look at D, because maybe there's something there or it's. All right. So this one moves roads all over the place in order to create one giant green thing in the most simplest explanation. So where the existing, again, it's platted, but it's not a real road. There's sort of a road right here, and then River Road cuts through there. This proposes basically getting rid of both of those, that you would come in and drive around. And then we had talked last time about the possibility of just connecting onto, this is private property, so the property line is right along the edge here. Could you sort of connect a drive lane here onto McCann? I looked at McCann and it's sort of small, it's hard to tell where the road stops and where they park their vehicles and their yard. So it seemed, given the ownership's not with the town, I said, well, is there a way to sort of move this? So what I did was just sort of connect the road right up on the edge of the property line. So it's almost the same as coming out there.
We're gonna wrap around anyway from the parking,
But again, there's like infrastructure, electrical lines below, at least a few sort of below grade services running here. So this scheme requires more doing of things to the existing infrastructure, not that you're already not doing a lot. But let's go through it anyway. So a big single multi-purpose field, distributed amenities, playground, and some workout equipment on the one end, pickleball, and again, those small scale seating or fitness areas, and some detention area allowed for on the east end. And then really taking that edge along East Castle and just planting the heck out of it and making a sort of little trail. So trees, meadows, flowers, shrubs, just, that when you're sort of driving along, you might see little heads sort of moving through, but you can't really see the park quite so much. To really make it kind of its own, almost like being in the city or something, it's kind of this protected park. Because of the way the roads work down here, the new proposed road sort of kicks up so that you don't have a funny little hook. So we buy a little bit of extra parking here because the road sort of moves up to connect around. And then you get the one big multi-purpose field. Parking is very similar, 101, 102. Some municipalities sometimes The backing out of a parking space onto a 2-lane drive lane is not liked as much, so there may be some civil engineering questions, but this is sort of just a way to distribute the parking kind of around the edge and then make this protected green space. 3 pickleball courts instead of 4 here. And then if we start to look at similarly kind of the layout, you get a little bit extra soccer stuff. So there's the previous scheme, I think, had 5, this has 6 for those mid-sized U9, U10 sized fields, all sort of strung along straight. Similarly, if you go to page 9, you can have an even larger Pee Wee soccer match.
The largest green field in the country.
The Virginia Pee Wee Championships here, maybe?
Yeah.
Joking, not joking. Again, with a kind of blended, this one similarly had a T-ball or a sort of backstop in that southwest corner. So you can again have a distributed kind of variable model set up as you need to. And then again, room for sort of at least one. Actually here, if you didn't have these, you could have 2 U13 plus for the big kids fields.
And with 2 fields like that, you'd be able to run a tournament. 2 full-size fields like that. Along with our existing stuff.
I mean, each of these needs a different size goal. Some of them are the puck goals that the coach sets up and takes down. Others are the big metal ones that would have to be sort of moved or located around. So there's some additional infrastructure that comes with the larger fields. To line or not to line, you know, on a small field, corner cones is sufficient, but when you get to the bigger ones, you might need to start to think about, you know, maintaining, lining the fields and doing those kinds of things, or having the goals out of the way, you know. So this one just is, as much as possible, kind of create a protected set of edges where humans can occupy in a pleasant way, and then kind of a big blank slate right in the middle. Slightly different flavor of parking, but again, about the same number of spaces. And then again, you would come in off onto English and come in, and you can drive through and pop back out there instead of cutting through here. The river road access for residents still needs to be maintained, so this would change, you know, instead of being able to turn off East Fincastle and drive straight to here, would have to kind of come in that for the folks living there.
Well, I appreciate you including this one as well, because this is kind of my pipe dream. Like this was a lot of my feedback. I really wanted to see what we could do if we had a full field. Seeing it and actually being able to visualize it, I do see limitations with it. I see that the possibilities are great. Like having 2 full-size fields, that huge open space reminds me of the drill field in Waxburg. I mean, I could imagine having, you know, a barbecue festival on that huge open space, or
Fireworks.
I mean, the fireworks show. You know, heck, you could have like a Renaissance fair. It's a big enough space. You could have all kinds of craziness there. But I do see
The other one's
that.
pretty big too.
I do see that there is ample space in the other one, and it looks like there's a little bit more parking, and even more important to me and to the concerns I think that we also have to think about is there's a lot more recessed detention wetlands, like there's more water.
Yeah, and that needs to be sort of worked on for real. These are sort of sketches of like, maybe here.
Right, but I mean, like, just in the planning, there's plenty of extra room to mitigate water.
That was gonna be my question, because that's gonna be a big deal.
Right, if you had it like this, you know, it's your water mitigation is basically going to run over your field.
Yeah.
You've got some area around the pickleball, obviously, but
Well, in the low spot, it seems to be that it sort of comes in over here and eventually makes its way to a handful of drains that are right there.
gotcha.
Or not, or just evaporates from what it looks like out there. There's enough standing water occasionally. You know, so it's, and the fields, you know, the flood, depending on where you are, you gotta come up a little bit to get above the floodplain for certain of these things, so And we talked last time, certainly removing a lot of concrete and asphalt will improve drainage and stormwater. Because
Right.
water will naturally, even if it ponds in a place that might not be as desirable, it has a place to go as opposed to a hard surface. So, you know, most of the time, clients I'm working with or with municipalities trying to convince folks, we have this much hard surface, this much stormwater runoff. This is the opposite, where you're sort of giving back landscape where water can sort of percolate down into the water table as opposed to having to be piped or managed in some way. It still needs, I think it still needs some positive sort of engineered approaches to make sure.
I know our concerns are the neighborhoods around and not.
Yeah, because it's low spots right there in here where folks live. I haven't seen it directly, but talked to enough folks that it's.
Where the water comes off the creek on the backside.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's sort of, it's not coming from the clinch, it's coming from.
Back from
The ridge line.
Also floods up, so where your big field is, you'll go up there almost to that circle. Or to your right, all that will be flooded in.
Yeah.
Will.
Comes out now,
And if you look at the base,
the quench.
sorry, I spoke over someone.
I said, it comes out with Dow Rock and it's going to flood the whole area unless you put a culvert in it or raise it high enough to put it into the quench.
Yes.
You raise it high enough, I'm gonna push on my land.
One of the things so from the IDA perspective, we've asked town council for some direction related to this property, and we've tried to recruit businesses, and because it is in the floodplain, there's already gonna be engineering that has to be done, and it's hard to recruit a business to wanna put in money for engineering and then do a new building, and so many places that have open land in a floodplain, a park is a viable option for that, because we're not putting in extra, like if we had a restaurant come in and they built a kitchen and the kitchen floods, right? So a park is something that we can plan for it to flood, because that will be what happens, but it's not like we're putting in a new build facility.
Detrimental, yeah.
The next phases of the project, which there are many probably, I think needs to involve sort of proper engineering assessment, full-on survey drawing with topography to start to understand. Because the base flood elevation right now, sort of, it's like 2104, 2103, like it drops off. The base flood elevation gets a little lower as you go west towards the Hardees. So there's a little bit of slope. It's imperceptible when you're out there on 6 acres, but
And that will be our next step. So town council allocated the IDA money in order to plan and pursue this project. This is step one, coming up with a plan and a schema that we agree on. And then step two is going to be contracting and having the official work done to take care of the engineering piece.
yeah, I think you want all the things you want to work well with the engineering solution.
May I ask for your copies?
On the property on the other side of the drive, on the right hand side.
Sorry, where?
Straight down River Drive.
Down here?
Yeah.
Or further off the
Right hand
page.
side of it. I'll butt up to your river drive that you got going up to the corner, all the way to the back.
Here.
Mine's right beside here,
Okay.
on the other side of the road.
So my
This
question,
side of the road's higher than that side.
my question for both of you, seeing these schemes, if this is something we go down the line for, how do you feel losing River Drive?
I already have trouble getting enough packages at River Drive.
Sorry.
So let's go back a few pages.
Took the mailbox.
Let's find the next cameras on.
That's a sharp turn right there.
Not long ago.
That's a sharp turn right there. Myself and Rob, we would have trouble with pulling the trailers or whatever, RVs up in there. We'll have trouble, we'll have a hard time making that turn.
This one.
Well, we also have the town there that would have to use the road, so we would have to think of that as well.
Part of the sort of next level of studying is the traffic side of things. You know, I think this scheme, even as I was drawing it, you know, imagining a town snowplow, sort of starting to test these things out a little bit more. But just for this, to just start to sort of imagine some of the things, and then it can be, sort of push, pulled, adjusted.
I'll be honest, when I live on top of that hill, you gotta get a run to go get up in the winter. And I need a landing strip to get down on the bottom.
Do you like the one that goes through?
Yeah, go ahead and
Just-
check that out.
Like scheme 3, was it?
And I was the one that asked, I mean, I wasn't the only one, but I brought up the idea of trying to bring that together. And like I said, I see a lot of faults that I, just spitballing the idea.
Yeah.
Didn't really imagine, but seeing it on paper, I understand things like that as far as sharp turns, having a landing strip at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, I don't want to see on the field.
And thank you both for coming, that's why we
Yes,
wanted to have this out in
very much
public
so.
to get feedback from the people that it affects.
Do you have an actual elevation of what this is going to be? Going to be higher or lower than what is existing?
That would be,
That would be the
those engineering steps.
I would imagine it.
Ideally, maybe raising portions of it a little to start to control some of the drain, might be able to reliably, when it has too much water, that it goes into predictable locations, not unpredictable locations, but I don't imagine raising the whole thing 3 feet.
I think that the concern is that's part of this project, is the understanding that this is a floodplain. And so the park itself, again, with reducing the hardtop is gonna be number one. And then number two is looking at the engineering and with the total understanding that this is a floodplain and that we want to mitigate the water. As it is right now, is not what it needs to be. So this would be better.
Only thing you got to build above the floodplain is an actual building.
Yes.
Yeah, so the services building.
Open space and we can flood it, you have to clean up the mess.
But I think we would want to make sure that we understood the impact to any neighbors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
obviously, yeah, it's not just about the park, but the impact to the
No,
neighbors.
the park itself, the idea of the park was, again, what Karen said, was that if we try to put a building on this, now you're talking about pushing water. Now you're talking about things flooding, and that's a problem. This, what it does, actually, it's beautifying the area, and then also helping with the water mitigation.
Itself.
Yeah.
There could be some other options, right? If you look at this and think, well, maybe some additional stormwater detention could be put right along River Road, which kind of gets you towards the clinch if you needed to. But maybe you lose part of one of your field. But you can start to sort of, with the benefit of drawing, make some of those, have those discussions and start to say, let's 86 this thing and pick up something else.
I did enjoy it, like on your previous drawings the month ago. There were some kind of water feature elements.
Yeah, there was, one of them had kind of planted right in the middle was all, instead of these smaller scale amenities being around the periphery, some of them were kind of planted in the middle as a divider, and you had kind of fields on one side and fields on the other. And part of that was to just provide a place where amongst there, you could build those up a little if you needed to, and then have some places for like wetlands or.
And trying to get that water to the clinch.
And there might be something, soccer field, maybe gets wet, it's fine. Certainly the services building, constructed things would need to be raised up and dealt with. Getting up here away from the water is part of the reason for that. But maybe the pickleball courts don't want to be regularly sort of submerged underwater, so maybe those want to be, if you're going to build up something, build up. That's a sort of question for that surface and things like that. So I think it's a big site and there's room to kind of push and pull things 12 or 18 inches without missing too much. But that's sort of the next level of study and engineering and design that we'll start to take this one step closer.
Sounds like that next phase will be very important.
Yeah, they're all important.
But and council, just like what we did with the farmer's market pavilion, we approached you all with conceptual drawings. And then from that point forward, we went and got a preliminary architecture report. We got drawings that were quantitative as well as qualitative. And so this is our qualitative beginning, so that we as a group, town council and IDA, can communicate broadly with all of our stakeholders. This is what's going in. This is a 3 to 5 year plan, right? So the engineering component is going to be key, but I want to mention one thing that I think is a real positive that we've learned from the Clinch River Pavilion is that a beautification project like this that's going to loop in the multi-generational aspect of people are not going to be playing soccer on this every single day of the week. Right. But you are going to be able to come to the park your car, walk safely around the outside, have access to a restroom, play pickleball if you want. You can play in the middle of the empty field, right? Like this is gonna be a real enhancement just for our citizens for daily use.
Tazewell Kite Festival.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we all know that we have to set off fireworks at the middle school, or at the middle school. You can have that, people can come here and park and watch and like it's gonna be, it's gonna be an ad.
Well, I think the other aspect of it is just the fact that driving into town,
Yeah.
it's just gonna cause so much more curb appeal in general. People will be like, wow, this is a town that really cares.
Yes, well, and I just want to say something on that too, because we talk about industry coming in here, we're always, courting people and trying to get jobs and things to move in here. If your town has things like the old Ramey lot, that is not attractive. If you're doing things like this, then that is attractive, and that is showing a town that cares and that is on the upward, and then folks want to get and be involved with that, and then momentum, and so that's what we're doing, and it's fantastic. We appreciate that.
I was imagining those, if you had the poles with the netting for the soccer balls, those could easily, you could put up seasonal banners, so you're driving into town.
So cute, Kevin, so cute.
10-foot tall, sort of Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Thanksgiving, or coming this summer. Is that your job?
Just one more thing to hang, right?
Sorry, never mind, you don't have to.
You was good until right
Oh,
there.
yeah. They're down low, like right here. And they're this big, is that?
And one more, the sign. So I think a really positive addition to this town has been the nice sign that's in front of the fire department.
Oh, yeah.
Susan had a great idea in our first meeting with Kevin about this potentially being a long-term site for a new LED sign. Those are quite expensive. Again, that would be like a last effort fixture. But like this would be an opportunity to have a new location. One on one end of town, one on the other.
Yep. Well, this, you could have it on both ends.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted coming into town and going out.
And that's been consistent feedback from citizens as well, is that those are,
Communication.
communicating about events and what's going on, and so here we are.
I hope you appreciate the scale. I think I drew this little rectangle like 10 feet long. And it looks like the smallest. I think any project lends itself to phasing over time. This scheme maybe compared to the scheme B, maybe lends itself a little bit more to sort of eating the elephant one bite at a time, do this chunk, do this chunk, do this chunk, sort of as a capital campaign or as an effort kind of over multiple phases, where you could sort of, okay, let's focus on getting the fields online, or no, let's get the playgrounds and the small things first, then the field, that can be kind of worked out. But I think, especially with a big kind of infrastructure scale, 6 point something acre, it's going to take a certain amount of moving of dirt to make it work. Other feedback, questions, comments? Yes, sir.
I could see where the drainage problem would have to be addressed first.
Yes.
The simple reason, you go ahead and build it, and you spend X amount of money on it.
Oh, no.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You spend X amount of money on it. All right, people comes in and they see it's swamped. And that's going to be a bad hour in the town tax.
Oh, totally.
And it needs to, all that water out, when Ramey was there, he just kept filling and putting asphalt back. It don't have no base on it whatsoever. It needs a culvert coming out of Dial Rock, under the road, into the clinch, and then build this up to a level, medium, to where you could build something like this. Is nice. It's super nice.
It is.
So why would you want to go out there one day and it's all in 2 foot of water?
Oh, no.
Right.
This is the idea.
This is the idea.
This is the idea, and then the second phase is actually working with engineering. So there's going to be no actual shovels in the ground until we get a plan of how we mitigate that issue. Sorry if we weren't, yeah, that's
Yeah,
clear,
the
but.
utmost importance would be drainage.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be primary focus in anything we do to doing anything out there. Because we would not want to impact anybody around there in a negative way in that sense.
Well,
Or lose money on this project.
It's just a bottleneck in there and backs up into dialogue.
Right, yeah, we would not want to
That's
do
gonna
that.
have to be opened up before you, because it'd be stupid if we spend this kind of money on it and not address it.
Absolutely, it would, and we wouldn't want to do that, and that's why we want to get everything. Right now, all we're trying to do is come up with a vision for the end goal.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna work through all those. That would be the very next step, would be, hey, let's find out what's the biggest problems in the area, and drainage is gonna be number one.
Yeah.
because if we don't have the drainage, then obviously it's not gonna be sustainable anyway. And like you said, if we build it, we don't wanna have to keep going back in and repairing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the drainage is
The
definitely.
engineering level of this might even change how you lay these fields out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
This is just the idea,
Absolutely.
like, let's have a field.
I mean, part of, I think, my task was just to start to help you all
Yeah.
understand this big asphalt thing you have, what might start to fit there, so that you can do and have these kinds of conversations and get everybody's feedback and then start to weigh, and everybody's has at least the direction we can start to together kind of march towards.
Just like everything else around here, ultimately, the land is gonna tell you what you can do.
Sure. I would like
6-inch
to.
deep water pool, just the whole thing, what do you think?
Tazewell wetlands.
So I would like to open it with the citizens and the residents of the area, like, knowing that drainage is gonna be top priority, and then your ingress and egress, is that? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Say big
Sounds
words.
right,
Those two things are gonna be top priority. What's your thoughts on this utilization of that space? I mean, is that,
Yeah, it's good stuff, yeah. Sound needs it.
okay, I don't want to put something there, you know, you guys hate it the whole time. I mean, and we don't know what will come of it, right? You know, once it's there and people are using it, there's always going to be little things, but I hope it's an acceptable solution. It's better than,
Nothing. Right now, it's nothing.
What's there, right?
We want to make it something.
yeah.
Well, you know, one of the,
Right now, it's 6 acres of asphalt and light poles.
gotta love them light bulbs.
Just-
Yes.
Just one other thought I had is town employees, making sure that there's always accessibility for our machinery to get in and out, even on Saturdays and Sundays, you know, emergencies, water repair, trash truck on Saturday. You know, if you got crowds coming in for Saturday to play soccer, we still have to be able to maneuver around that to get the vehicles in and out.
Right.
So when I was on the IEDA when this process happened with the town, I mean, first and foremost, we gave you that property to make sure that you had something functional, and something better than what you had. So yes, anytime we do this process, we're gonna keep you in mind to make sure that whatever you have, you're still able to use.
And I think to piggyback off that, that is part of he's got the new road coming in here. There is no parking here. So that would keep you a clean path in and out. You know, and this is still conceptual, right? But that would definitely be a concern as well.
I think we can all conclude, like I said to Lucy earlier, the big green blob one is probably the most aesthetically pleasing to look at. Like, it'd be awesome if we could do that, but it's just not practical as far as residents getting in and out, town getting in and out work-wise. Yeah, it would be awesome to have the big field, but I think this is more in line with.
Right. And this is actually plenty big enough to handle all, like,
I think that the engineering part is gonna tell us that too.
yeah, exactly. I think you're right on that as well.
And don't undersell the sort of other, the smaller scale thing, you know, I think kind of making the edges active in different ways, and then the middle active in its own way, I think, as opposed to, maybe you don't want 6 acres of grass to replace 6 acres of asphalt, but but 4 acres of grass, and 2 acres of other things that provide a diversity of uses.
Something like this could really lend itself to so many options for people. I just.
Really good. And like I said, the thought I had for the big red block.
Big green block.
That's a technical term.
But, you think concert venues, festivals, cultural, fiddlers convention would be a great thing to have there, things like that. On top of, it's easy to say soccer fields. Soccer fields are great because they're a rectangle, like it gives you a point of reference, right? But all these things, and no, we're not gonna have them every day, but it's great to have activity in the community in a space that's isolated, that's set up for that, right? And
It's gonna increase your property values as well.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Because we get bigger taxes.
All that. We can't have
is there another comment? Yes.
Specifically on speed C,
Yes.
having a bathroom that far away from the playground doesn't seem ideal.
I done thought you probably need another one in-house.
There's room.
More bathrooms is a great thing.
Yeah, there's room to kind of, I think that's that next level of like, if we're at 10,000 feet, looking at it now, then we go to 5,000, then we go to that, so.
I thought that's why you put all them trees over there.
Works for some.
This is Tazewell.
This is a classy place.
This isn't a city.
There's like 10 bathrooms over there.
To the question for the folks working for public works and things, this scheme takes 30% of that large lot for parking. So just as you look at this, you start to think like, well, I'm giving away some places where you've got currently a salt pile for the winter or whatever sort of behind that. That existing fence runs along right here. So this pushes back. Like I said, it's about 70% of what you have now in this particular scheme. So just be aware of that. You gain more parking, but being aware of what might be traded. And I was just trying to capture some of this asphalt for additional overflow parking.
How many
This whole
pickleball?
function doesn't happen.
Just 2 pickleballs to get our parking back.
Gentleman's back.
Yes, sir.
Well, the town was asking the question about coming out, you should be able to come off those side drive, with the little access road right to off the side of, on the left side of the street.
Right on the
main road right there.
There's an elevation change.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, it's 10, 12 feet tall.
Pretty
Go
good.
down just a little bit beside your tree, right there, the elevation's not that bad.
If you look
We can
at
look at that.
You could bring the town, bring the town out and go right down, kind of beside the bank that you're talking about, right there, about your tree line, it should start coming out pretty flat right through there.
Right in between your T-ball backstop text and the bottom of those trees that you have planted there.
I think it's 10 or 12 feet of drop.
Yeah, that's pretty.
This line right here, this sort of squiggly line, is about that line of the bottom of the hill to the top, where it goes up to English, so,
But that upper garage is on top of that hill anyway.
it is, it goes up some, but it doesn't go up all the way. But those are things that could be scrutinized with the benefit of a full site survey with topography and all of those things,
I was just offering another option.
Yeah.
Then you don't have a town, have to worry about traffic, what's going on down there at all.
Because this building has a number of bays. This one has a couple of bays right here, and then I think there's some stuff back here. It's mostly human-sized doors, and maybe I think there's one bay here. We call them man doors, but that doesn't, we don't do that anymore.
For a doggy.
It's a human, a person door.
So council members, do you have any additional feedback? I want to be respectful of everybody's time. It's 5:25. We've been here for about an hour. Do you, scheme C, seems like is what are your directions for our next step before we start trying to find engineering and answers?
Alex?
Yeah, Scheme C, again, I pushed early for Scheme D, and I quickly see that Scheme D's got a lot of faults that would
We
not
love
be.
someone that can change their mind, Jodies. What a great leader. What a great go, Mayor.
Well, these things benefit from iteration, and until you ask the question and draw it, I don't know, you don't know, right? It's like, sometimes I draw it, and as soon as I've got a great idea, and I sketch it out, and immediately, that's the worst idea ever.
And so keeping in mind that we're working on our comprehensive plan, if it's okay with you all, I would like for Scheme C to go to Jim, what's Lake's company?
Jim City.
Jim City, to be incorporated in the town plan for the next, our 5-year rubric of things that we get done. That's obviously taken into account. We have we are at step -10 compared to where we are in the long run, so, but.
-8.
-8, thank you, Kevin, thank you.
Taking a few steps.
Yeah, and if it's okay, can we all give Kevin a round of applause? Thank you so much for working with us.
Thanks for the
and-
opportunity.
Yeah, you crushed all of our feedback from our last month's meeting, so thank you very much. Cool.
And then you know where to find folks.
Yeah.
There's the feedback that gets shared in a public setting, and then the feedback that gets shared in all the other ways, so.
Yeah. Again,
Send it all in.
just to recap, I'm Kara Spivey, I'm the Town of Tazewell IEDA Chair. Our IEDA is all sitting at the table with Chris Hurley. And then town council members are obviously seated up in front of you. So more than welcome to accept other feedback in other ways, but we will do the official closing of meetings now, right?
If anybody else has.
Anybody else have anything that they want to say for the good of the group?
Did anybody sign in to speak?
Okay. All right, cool. So IDA, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Justin.
Second.
All right, we got Lucy and Daniel both seconding. So all those in favor of adjourning our meeting, say aye. Aye. You're up, Pete.
Just to interrupt real quick, do y'all have any comments before we?
Fabulous, thank you, IEDA.
Yeah, I want to thank the community for coming out. I mean, it's great to have people to bounce off. I appreciate everybody's efforts in this. And with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.